Boozed contains adult themes and language. Listener beware. Hello, and welcome to Boozed, where we get supernatural and shit-faced. I'm your host, Camille Monae, and I'm here with my co-host.
Your co-hostess with the mostest is me, Sydney. Welcome back, everyone.
You are ridiculous. It's okay. I like it. It's fine. Thank you for joining us again. We have a bit of a special episode for you today, one that was picked by our Patreon supporters through a Patreon poll that we did a couple of weeks ago. And since it was a tie, however, Sydney made the final decision, as is her right as the birthday girl. Hello, happy birthday!
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday! Everyone give birthday a Sydney shout out is what I was about to say. We're off to a
Yes.
good start. It's great over
Give
here.
me a birthday shout out.
Air horns.
Nice. I turned an age.
Yay.
And yeah, I'm still here. I'm still against all the elements that are, slowly trying to take us down. I've prevailed.
Oh gosh.
Yet again.
Amen. Yay. I'm so happy, so proud of you.
Thank you.
Making it to another year. What in perfect world, what would you have done for your birthday this year?
Oh, Camille. In a perfect world, I would be in a bungalow in Tulum with like some sort of like local drink and someone, I don't know who, massaging my temples.
Oh, I'm glad you said temples, because
This is a family show, Camille.
no, it's not.
I mean, it's not, but
the amount of times we talked about porn in like the first 10 episodes, ensured that it would never be a family show.
This is true. But yes, so somewhere on a beach.
Okay.
To just
Very
like
nice.
package that nice and neatly.
Well, good. Well, happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy Aquarius season to all of our Aquarians out there. Shout out.
Yes.
And for sure, drop Sydney a birthday line on her Instagram.
Give me some love.
Yes, very much. Or on our Instagram. There's a post there. You can go. You can do it. And while you're there, make sure to share, follow, like, subscribe to the podcast wherever you see it, wherever you listen. Give us a rating on Apple Podcasts. It's been a minute since we've had a rating. It's feeling kind of lonely over there, people. So if you can take a few minutes, Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star rating. But what's most important is the written review. So give us a written review. Can say just about anything. It would just be nice to hear from you, dear listener. That's all. We just want to know your thoughts. Want to feel some love. We are still stuck inside. I need all of the validation I can get at this point in time. Please feed me.
We need validation and love.
We do. We really, really do. Oh, gosh.
How are you, Camille?
I am doing fairly well. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing good. Trying to do some self-improvement, learning a lot, reading more, which was my goal for this
I
year.
saw that.
Read more books.
You got a now do you have a list of books that you plan to go through?
I do. If you go to my personal Instagram at the Camille Monae, you can see a picture of all the books that I'm supposed to get through in
Mm,
2021. Right now, I am actually in the middle or like in the process of reading about 4 of those.
okay.
Um,
At
my
once.
at once, which is something I've always done. I've always read multiple books at once. Usually
Mm,
it's only 2 or 3. Right now, because of the trainings I've been taking, the trainings I'm about to take, and some personal like interest, I am technically reading 5. Um, I have a book called Your Body Keeps the Score, which I'm reading for my intimacy training. I am reading a book about being a birth partner for my doula training starting next week. I'm not pregnant. No, I'm just becoming a doula. I am reading a James Baldwin book, which is kind of like my pleasure book. It's my literature book. So I typically read that one at night, right as I'm trying to go to bed. And since I'm commuting about an hour one way to work on the work days I do work, so about an overall altogether 2-hour commute per day, I have an audio book that I started called Legend Born, which is
mm,
a sci-fi young adult because I do have a small passion for young adult fiction. Um, so I'm reading that via audiobook. And then I started a program based on the book The Artist Way this past Monday. So I'm technically also reading that book. It's like a 12-week program and you go week by week. So week 1, Artist Way. So yeah, that's like 5 books I'm in the process of reading right now, all at varying different stages. I do need to finish the birthing partner book because I do start training next week and they say you should read that before the training. So
mm.
that
Okay.
will be my focus over the next few days, hardcore. But what are you drinking tonight, Sydney?
Um Tonight I am drinking fizzy, delicious mineral water with
Mm.
with a side of grapes.
Ooh, frozen?
They're not frozen. It's missing that level of decadence, but it's still pretty nice.
But as I understand it, you've only began eating fruit like 2 days ago.
Oh my
So
gosh, guys. I went to the grocery store this morning cuz I was out of fruit cuz I went through my week of fruit.
wow.
I went through my week
That is
and
such
I got more grapes and strawberries and blueberries and bananas and different kinds of oranges. I forgot the dates.
nice. Oh, yeah, you were supposed to forget dates, but that's okay.
Um,
Well,
but I think I've had a change of heart. I really do. Like eating it for breakfast, I do feel better
good.
than
It's
like
all
eating. Not, I still eat eggs, but I'm enjoying like a light fruit breakfast. So I'm no
mhm.
longer anti fruit. See, you
Yay!
can learn to change your views on things. That's all I want people to know. You got to give it a try.
Just give it a try sometimes. Some things a try, not everything. Don't
Don't
give
try
everything a
everything.
don't try bath salts.
Mm-mm.
Um, you'll eat someone's face off, from what I understand.
But you
But
can, views can change, feelings can change. So,
yes, so we've now had a fruit convert, which
yes,
sounds weird.
it does. But yes,
Bravo. Welcome to the club. Round of applause
thank
for
you.
Sydney.
Thank you.
Woo.
I promise not to turn into like a snob about it now that I just found out about it and then like shaming people for the fruit that they haven't even tried yet.
I know. Well, I was just about to say, you need to like start diversifying and getting into more of like the tropical, exotic fruits
Oh
and
boy,
the experimental
like the ones
fruits.
that are
Like,
hard to open.
yes, the ones that you need like 8 knives
Yeah, I'll need
and
a
a
machete
corkscrew
to get into.
to get into.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And I forgot, I genuinely forgot that you weren't drinking as part of your continuing journey to kind of
Yes.
A bit of not a cleanse, but a bit of a reset.
It's a bit of a reset. It's a bit of a detoxing. I have not ceased to drink forever. I was told I had a complete sober January, and I said I don't feel any different, and I was told that that's because you're not an alcoholic, and that just made
Good
perfect
to know.
sense. That just made perfect sense to
Good.
me. If you don't feel anything, it's probably because your liver was not completely damaged. So I feel good
Good job.
knowing that. But
Bravo to you. So
yeah,
how much longer on this no drinking? Are you gonna try to do the rest of February? Are you done?
we'll
Like
see. We'll see. I said I'm gonna do it for as long as it feels right because I had told you like I
your
wanted to have
birthday.
my little cocktail, and then you were like, "Well, why are you just gonna pick the first? You should just pick like the fifth or something." And then you get to the
Yeah.
fifth, and then you see how long it goes. And then like every time I thought about it, I kept hearing your voice in my head saying me,
Yeah.
telling me like,
Mm,
"Oh, well, why
mm.
don't you just go wait to the fifth?" Like, damn it.
Just wait till the 5th.
So we'll see what
You're
happens when
so
I get
close.
to the
You're
fifth, I guess. So,
only
and then you're gonna
we'll
say
check in
something
next
again.
episode. I will. Like, you know what? You've made it this far. You might as well go through I mean, do it for the ancestors. It is Black History Month.
It is Happy Black History Month to everyone.
Whoop, whoop.
I think there is a
Facts.
website called, I mean, Google this because I could be wrong, but I think that there's a website called yourblackfriendsaretIred.com or .net, and it has a lot of like links
Do
that
you
you
hear the
could go
snaps?
to find out about Black history facts, past, present, and things going on, so that you don't have to frankly exhaust your Black friends during this month where we're just supposed to be celebrating each other and ourselves. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, you're gonna learn some shit by proxy because we're gonna post some shit anyway,
right.
but don't ask us for anything.
Yeah,
Um, don't.
don't do
Just
it.
don't. And to that point, if you have a designated Black friend, send them some fucking money this
I'll
month.
take some.
You can now donate to Boost Podcast via Venmo at Boost Pod on Venmo.
Mhm.
So if you want to support two Black women anytime,
Support,
just
support.
do a few dollars here and there. You don't have to subscribe on Patreon anymore. That is not the only way. You can still do my personal PayPal. It does go clearly directly back to the podcast.
Hmm.
So, or now you can just do the Venmo thing uh, for Black History Month. Please put that in the notes. Put down in the notes your Black History Month donation
Hmm.
to a Black podcast.
Hmm.
And then we're going to hit you back up during Pride Month.
We sure will. We sure are.
Considering we are both also on that spectrum. So,
So
cheers to that.
I'll take some Black History birthday pride money if you guys have got it. So we
Just
can.
earmark your Februaries, earmark your Aprils, earmark your when is Pride? It's like what, June?
Yeah, it's June.
Okay, I was thinking about Dallas, which is like October.
I don't know why it's at the end of the year here, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so June and October. Get both of us. I don't know when technical Pride is in Atlanta. I assume it's June, like the rest of the
Yeah.
normal
Yeah.
country. But yeah, just put aside some offering, your tithes towards us and or any other Black people you know, because it's
Yeah.
that time of the year. It is
Seriously,
that
if you know someone who's struggling who could use a little bit of help, whether it's like with food or, they're struggling with job security, it would be good right now. That's one of the best ways you can help people. It's not impersonal. It really is one of the best ways you can help people is monetarily.
let me tell you, anytime that I have felt, and this is kind of like a part of a abundance kind of mindset and ministry that I'm trying to follow,
Mhm.
I find that when I give money freely to others who need it truly without reservation, when I not irresponsibly, but when I smartly spend money in advancement of someone else or my own goals, I almost always 100% receive that back in some way.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's been literally that same amount of money comes back to me from someone else or something else
Mhm.
unexpectedly. So whenever I feel like I can give, even when I feel like maybe I can't give, I'll give a little bit because I know, and it has proven itself time and time again, that always comes back in one form or another. And I have never regretted giving someone help.
Yeah, I feel like an elder or someone has told me once the only way to keep anything is to give it away.
Mm-hmm.
Like keep money, whatever. You have to give it love, whatever. You have to give
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
away. So you got to pour it into the world to get it back. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I am drinking.
Yes, what are you drinking, Camille?
I feel like this is so weird because I keep drinking wine.
You are on a wine kick. I'm
I'm
noticing
on a
that.
wine kick.
I've rubbed off on you.
Well, you know what it is? Um, Wine is easy to get.
Wine is easy to get.
I don't have to go to a separate store.
Yeah.
When I go to Kroger, I can pick up a bottle of wine
Mhm.
or a cider.
Mhm.
Recently, it's been wine because I'm in a new place, so some of the cider selection is a little different. I'm still learning the local ciders, but I picked up a barefoot wine,
Mm.
sweet red blend because I love my grape juice. Um,
That was a sigh of disappointment, listeners.
I know. I don't care. I don't care at all. I know you don't approve. I approve. It's fine. This one is not as good as the last one though. I will say the last one I had, I need to go back and listen to the episode so I can remember the name of it. This one is maybe a little too sickly sweet. Or maybe it's because I've already drank most of the bottle.
Yeah. Or maybe it was just like that to begin with.
It was probably like that to begin with. This one's maybe a little too much syrupy
Mhm.
tasting.
Yeah.
As opposed to the other one was just like straight Welch's grape juice. This one's more like a Robitussin almost.
Ugh.
Yeah,
We
I know.
need this pandemic to end. If
We
only
do.
so I could just take Camille wine tasting. Like, I mean, like that is on the to-do list. The moment this is over, I'll find her wherever she is, and we are going wine tasting. Because I just can't,
You know,
I
good
can't
luck.
have it for too long. Like Robitussin, that's not what wine's supposed to taste like.
No, it definitely has like kind of a dimetappy
Ugh, just cut it out.
yeah, which usually I cannot handle. I feel like it's maybe gotten more dimetappy the more I've drank it. It's not the best. Sorry, Barefoot. I know you have a lot of popularity amongst a certain demographic of people.
Mhm.
I'm gonna try to find something else next time. I did order some of Aisha Tyler
Oh.
has a spirits blend company, or she's part of like a company, kind of like Ryan Reynolds has like his vodka or whatever, and
Mhm.
George Clooney has his gin or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but Aisha Tyler has a old fashioned mix,
Oh, really?
pre-mixed cocktail. hmm that someone will be sending to me in the mail eventually because I did pay for it. So
Okay.
hopefully it'll be here by the next recording date. I hope. And we're gonna give that a try and see what it's like. I don't remember the name of the company, but Aisha Tyler, the actress and comedian from Archer,
Mhm.
love her.
She is so
Uh,
funny.
she's very funny,
Yeah.
wonderful person. It seems. I love supporting anything she does. And so yeah, she has the Spirits brand now, and so I ordered a couple of bottles. Hopefully they're good,
Mm.
and hopefully they get here soon. Jeez. So
Alrighty.
anyway,
Well, what are we talking about this evening, Camille?
well, dear Sydney, this evening, as I mentioned before, is a special topic that was picked by our Patreon supporters and you
Yes.
via a poll that we did on our Patreon page. So, if you would like to be a part of the fun, a part of our future episode decision making, please go to patreon.com/boozedpod. And if you sign up to be a Patreon supporter, you will have access to voting on things such as our future episodes. And the episode choice was the Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Now, let me just take a moment here. And I know we have a disclaimer at the front of the episodes, every episode, about adult content and language. I will say that this episode is going to probably use some antiquated language around mental health. It is going to discuss some abuse towards people living with mental health disorders. I will try to give another disclaimer when I get to this point, but some of it is kind of graphic in description. So, hang on to your butts, as Samuel L. Jackson would say in Jurassic Park.
Oh,
Was that right?
that made me so happy. Yes.
Yay.
Oh my god, that came out of nowhere.
I'm surprised I remembered that reference myself so accurately. All right. So, when it opened its doors in 1863, the Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, renamed the West Virginia Hospital for the Insane, was a ray of hope for the treatment of mental disorders. It was designed to house 250 patients, each with their own comfortable room. Let's take a break because Black people were in their own separate rooms, a bit segregated. Okay.
Mhm.
The property was self sustaining as it included its own working farm, dairy, waterworks, gas well, and cemetery. It was a jewel designed by architect Richard Snowden Andrews and was intended to be a state of the art facility that would provide the best care for its patients. The facility was the result of the advances in mental health research and treatments up to that time, meant to be the brightest and best in care. But even as awareness and the diagnosis saw their advancements, the stigma amongst mental, it's like three words combined in there,
Mhm.
none of which are good. Um, the stigma among mental disorders remained. And by 1881, the asylum that was intended to be a dream haven began its decline into a place of nightmares come to life. By 1938, the asylum was 6 times over capacity. With the overflow of patients, many of whom suffering from severe, debilitating, and sometimes violent mental health symptoms, the staff found themselves overwhelmed and drastically understaffed. At its height in the 1950s, the hospital, which was originally only supposed to hold 250 patients, held 2,600 patients. With so many in need of care and very few individuals to care for him, patients faced increasingly horrific conditions. The once beautiful building, her interior accentuated by large, light filled windows, was now besmirched with grime and mold. The halls held the stench of decay, defecation, and often death. Patients, some now housed 10 to a single room, had no dedicated care. They slept on the dirt ridden floors, often without even a sheet to protect them from the cold. They were often left to their own devices. And those who were considered considerably and especially troublesome, or perhaps violent, were chained to walls or left in makeshift cages. food became scarce and managing meals was near impossible, leading to malnutrition and starvation.
Mm.
So, if anyone knows anything about like mental health in the late 1800s, early 1900s, you just know it was like not great.
No, no, not. I mean, no.
Yeah. And even with like the surge of awareness around mental health in the early 1900s, you still had, like I said, just tons of stigma, tons of misunderstanding from the general public and even from medical professionals. Like this, people think sometimes that like medicine and science has always been what it is now.
Yeah,
And that is absolutely not the
yeah,
case. Just
no. I mean, and even now, at times, it's like, I mean,
it's difficult.
it's always got to evolve. Is the thing.
Right,
Like it's just
right.
always got to be evolving. But back then, for of course, we only knew what we knew, and um, a complete misunderstanding is one thing, but like you understand people get cold. You
Mhm.
understand
Right,
people need to sleep on something that's not gonna make their bones hurt. So,
right.
um, yeah,
Yeah, and it's so this is just like I think I've watched or read something about asylums or listened to something about asylums,
right,
eh, of the past,
right,
and it just seems to be a recurring theme of, like, they started off with the best of intentions,
yeah,
but just could not keep up with the demand and the reality in some cases were that people were just dropping off family members, community members that they just didn't wanna deal with.
yes,
This could be anyone dealing from extreme psychosis, schizophrenia,
yeah,
very serious, dangerous sometimes mental disorders, to the housewife who was just maybe a little too mouthy,
right,
or a woman who was suffering from postpartum depression. They didn't have any rights. And
no,
so a man in charge, white man in
mhm,
charge,
of
let's be
course,
very clear,
sure,
could commit nearly anyone to one of these hospitals, quote unquote hospitals or asylums,
yeah,
and just, sign a piece of paper and that person was gone forever. Families who had children with Down syndrome, autism, because nothing was understood about autism, you could just send your problem child away, a problem to them. I'm not trying to say that people with mental disorders are problems, but you could
yeah,
send. Back then, they were a problem, they were a stigma, they were a stain on your family
yes,
in a lot of cases.
right,
You could just send these people to a hospital, an asylum, away, and that was that. So, a lot of these places, there are more than the Trans-Allegheny, there are a number of asylums that we could talk about who had just maybe the best of intentions to start out, but as people realized that they could commit their family members, community members to these institutions to get rid of them,
mhm,
in the worst case scenario, just to get rid of them. In the best case scenario, thinking that they might actually get help. Of course, there was those people out there who thought it really was helping.
mhm.
Um, yeah, it was just rampant, especially in the early 1900s up to the 1950s and 60s.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, so this was one of those places. It was one of the first places that was dedicated to the treatment of mental disorders, mental health issues, and
and so the degradation of like the facility was because of the overload of people over
yeah,
time.
so yeah, it was just like as we should, science advanced, awareness advanced. People were being diagnosed more often
Mhm,
with certain mental disorders, sometimes accurately, sometimes inaccurately. And so, with this diagnosis came the opportunity to commit someone to an asylum, or, what were called asylums. I believe that word is very much out of fashion now.
Yes.
But back then it was an asylum, and so you were able to commit someone to this to get help, hopefully, again, if you had the best of intentions to get help. And so with this one being kind of the best and the brightest at the time, and with people's knowledge and learning, realizing that there's a place I can send this person to get help, they were like, "Send them."
Mhm.
Now, the fault of the state or the people running the facility was that they just kept accepting people.
Right. And also, there wouldn't have been any sort of process for the um who they hired to care for
Mm-mm.
these people.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I mean, we can look at movies like, um, Girl Interrupted,
Yes.
or One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, or say, Clockwork Orange, where the orderlies, and I'm sure this isn't the case, but there's so many movies and TV shows that present orderlies of these types of institutions as really just being enforcers, not
Yeah.
being people who are
Like
trained
like
to
like
take
prison
care.
guards.
Yeah, they're prison guards.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, and that has to I that's probably based in truth. I believe it's, you know, very, it's not unbelievable to believe that that is based in some truth, that sometimes you just hired people because you needed hands on deck, and they were
Yes.
willing to come in and do the job. Sure, I'm sure you had some dedicated nurses, qualified nurses on staff. You probably had some qualified, dedicated doctors on staff. At the end of the day, you also probably just needed bodies to help
Right.
run and manage things. You were also considering you went from the capacity of, I think so at some, I'm not 100% sure if this was a strictly state run facility or if it was a private facility. I think it was state run because some things happened later in its history that allude to that fact. And of course, like all things that are state run, people are just trying to look for a buck
Sure.
or a dollar,
Yeah.
even private owned. You're looking for a buck or a dollar
Yeah.
because a smart person who was conscious and had like goodwill and would say, "Oh no, we only have 250 rooms. At best, we can accommodate 500 people,
Mm.
two to a room. That should be it."
Right.
But by, what did I say, like the um, 1938, it was 6 times over capacity. Who made that decision? Someone who was looking for money.
Yeah. A money grab.
I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense. Like, why else would you continually accept people
Yeah, it's
unless there was something in it for you?
yeah. It's wild to me sometimes how many things are modeled after prison.
Mm, school.
School. Yeah. It's like,
Mm,
yeah.
mhm,
And places
mhm.
like that where it's just like as many people as we can get in here, and as
Pack 'em
long
in.
as there's not this huge oversight on the people who are in charge of them, just get them
Right.
where they need to be, and they have to be where they need to be at this time, and they can't be here. And it's really weird, but yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
all that's
Lovely.
money, money.
A very American
Yes.
seeming. I know it happens in other countries. I'm not trying to, like,
Right.
bully America. I'm just saying if it was, like Norway, probably wouldn't have this problem.
Yeah.
Norway seems nice, uh, apart from, like, the snow and ice. Is Norway one of those countries where it's, like, dark for 6 months? Not
Maybe.
countries. Is Norway a country? I'm sorry. I just first of all, is Norway a country?
I'm pretty sure Norway is a country.
Okay, great.
Um, and I think it's up there near
It's, like, near Sweden, right?
yeah, but I don't think it's dark for that long.
Okay.
I don't think so.
This has been Geography Corner with 2 very unqualified
We
people.
went to school in America, guys. We have a
Yes,
public
public
American
school.
school education. So,
Even with a Catholic school start, this is where I ended up. A
Yeah.
podcast where I get drunk and tell ghost stories. So, there you go. Take it for what it is. Um,
So did this place get what, over the course of the years did this just become like something that they just couldn't practice anymore because of ethics, or just over time it?
we'll kinda get there.
Okay.
We'll kinda get there. So, right now, things are horrible.
Yeah, there, so you said there's overcapacity. People are having
Horribly.
to sleep on the floor. They're not properly like supporting the staff. And
Yeah, the staff is overworked. Even if they were qualified to begin with, they are just
yeah.
outnumbered,
Mhm.
literally outnumbered. So, you have just overcrowding, and this place that was supposed to be self-sustaining can't even fulfill that mission because, 1, you have too many people, and then so many of these people are not able to carry out the work because of their mental disability,
Right.
perhaps. Um, so, when the farms aren't able to be worked, you kinda run out of food
Mhm.
for your supposed what was supposed to be a self-sustaining almost community.
Mhm.
So, yeah, by, the 1940s, 1950s, this place was just a complete hot mess. And, as if the living conditions and the treatment by sometimes cruel and or overwhelmed staff weren't enough, those who suffered within the asylum walls became the prey of some of the most sadistic scientists, quote unquote scientists, and
Mm.
experimentations of the time, including torture at the hands of one Walter Freeman, an infamous surgeon and lobotomy advocate. So, anyway, moving on. So the asylum itself, eventually it started to come under scrutiny from certain individuals, different individuals, and certain bits of press, all of whom tried to intervene on behalf of the patients at the asylum. They would report on the conditions there, and the state would try to be like, oh well, we'll make these changes, we'll do this, blah 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 blah, like government does. And but it wasn't until 1994. Were you alive in 1994, City?
I
Because I was.
certainly was good and
Hmm.
alive.
It was 1994 before this place was shut down. Now, that's not to say that in 1994 it was still as wretched
Yeah.
as it was in the 1950s to 80s, let's say, but with limited resources, I doubt it was a hell of a lot better.
Right.
So, the institution was shut down, and it closed its doors until it was reopened, fairly recently, or within the timeline recently, as a historical site. It now is also a museum, and of course, they do ghost tours. I know you've probably been listening and thought, "Camille, what does this have to do with ghosts?" Because guess what? This place is supposedly fucking hella haunted. So that's
I
why we're talking
mean,
about it.
I would imagine.
Yeah, any place that has this much, like, emotional charge to it can't help but have some sort of residual energy of some sort. So,
Yeah.
now we can dig into some of the ghosty ghouly bits about the Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. So, there have been, as you would predict, some sightings, some apparitions. There have also been unexplained voices and sounds. Staff there have reported seeing ghosts walking through walls or hearing the squeaky wheels rolling around the tiled hallway. Both visitors and staff have seen balls of light moving rapidly down hallways, Doors have been observed and heard closing on their own, and others have heard loud bangs from the pipes, and often objects will move by themselves. Now, it's important to note when it was abandoned like fairly quickly. So there is still original hospital equipment
Mm.
in this place that had like not been moved. It's been moved since because clearly it's a tourist site, it's a museum. So things have been moved around, but a lot of things have been left in place, especially if they were original historical type of items
Mm.
to add to the ambiance of the
Sure.
site, make it interesting to come to. So some of these original objects are still there present today. Now, in Ward 2 on the second floor, a secret recording device once captured an EVP, which is an electronic voice phenomenon, of an eerie voice saying, "Get out." And many who visit the room will hear their own names called out by the spirits. This particular ward is said to be where two patients had committed suicide and another patient had been stabbed to death. You can expect to hear hysterical and disturbing laughter coming from empty rooms. And one story reported by a doctor said that a spirit followed them to their home and is still present there today.
Mm.
Also in Ward 2, a person was allegedly stabbed 17 times by another patient, and their shadowy figures have been encountered numerous times. Many of the phantoms have names, and many of them have very specific locations that they prefer to stay in
Mm.
or certain activities that they repeat. Among those includes the sighting of a ghost called Ruth. She is found on the first floor, and allegedly she hated men while she was living, and apparently also while she's dead, which I understand. Ruth is alleged of throwing items at any male visitors today. There's also a phantom called Big Jim, and he is said to haunt the third floor, accompanied by a nurse named Elizabeth. And there is also a ghost known as the Creeper, and he is often seen crawling on the floor.
Mm.
In addition, there's a ghost named Jacob. He is a soldier who is said to haunt the fourth floor. There's a ghost of a murderer named Slewfoot who had been slashed to death in a bathroom and is said to haunt the asylum as well. Now, one regular, well known apparition is that of Lily. Lily is said to be a lonely little girl who appears in a white dress. She appears to be about 9 years old, and it's believed that her mother was someone who was living at the asylum when she gave birth, and that Lily subsequently died at age 9 after spending all of her days confined beneath, or not beneath, confined within the walls of the asylum. Lily is said to be a sweet phantom who talks to visitors and will play with them by rolling balls along the floor, switch on and off the flashlights, and play music on a music box or toy piano. She also often giggles, and observers describe her as being both sweet and horrifying.
Yes.
um,
As
now,
children are.
as children are, especially ghost children, always 100% terrifying. So, given how old that the asylum itself, the building itself is, uh, I didn't go into this bit of history, but at some point it had to kind of like pause construction due to the Civil War, as you do.
Mhm.
Um, but there is, it's kind of weird. This is one of those points where it's like history versus reality versus the paranormal, because it says that they halted building in the Civil War, but then there's also reports of there being a Civil War wing, which
Mm.
would infer that Civil War soldiers were housed there at some point, which, if it was a partial building, may or may not be true.
Right.
I honestly kind of did these notes last minute, so I didn't look that much into it. But anyway, the first floor, it's a wing that is said to be called the Civil War Wing or the Veterans Area. And along this floor in the hallway is a patient named Ruth, who, again, oh, she's the same one who is very violent and will throw things at men.
Hmm.
A number of people have been actually pushed against walls and have heard whistling sounds emanating down the hallway. And this is basically where Ruth holds dominion.
Mm.
The third floor, which was a floor that held very many different things. It was like an isolation hallway. It held a nurse's station. But this is now, again, let me warn you, this is about to get pretty graphic and violent. So if you are a bit squeamish, you might want to jump ahead a little bit. Um, at the end of the isolation hallway is something called Dean's Room, where a patient was almost hung by two fellow patients. However, when they noticed that he was still moving after attempting to hang him, they dragged him into a room, placed one end of a bedpost on his head, then proceeded to jump on the bed until the bedpost penetrated his skull, killing him instantly. On the floor, as I mentioned, was also the nurses' quarters. Doors are said to open and close by themselves as if nurses are coming and going. A tour guide has also claimed to see the apparition of a nurse. In the geriatrics hallway, there are shadowy figures that are encountered and a lot of strange noises. And across from the geriatrics were kept some of the most violent female prisoners or patients, well, prisoners and or patients at this point. And people say they hear their names called out, and they also hear disembodied screams in the distance, along with footsteps.
Mm.
The ghost of Dean also apparently haunts the room where his murder took place. And there's a nurse named Elizabeth who can sometimes be encountered there as well. At the end of the next hallway is where the ghost called Big Jim, which I mentioned earlier, has been encountered and has been recorded with a few different EVP sessions.
Okay.
And finally, the fourth floor, which is called Ward R.
Mm.
This is a what's considered one of the creepiest hallways of the hospital. It comes with a myriad of different feelings and sensations that have been reported. There is a ghost called Lily, who can sometimes be communicated with,
The little girl, Lily.
and the little girl is. I thought that was Ruth. Is
Well,
that
she was
Lily
the
as
one
well?
that hated men, and Lily's the sweet, horrible child.
Oh, I guess it's the same Lily. It doesn't say if it's a different. So let's assume it's the same Lily. So sometimes she appears on the fourth floor.
Okay.
Um, an investigative group at one point were taking pictures, and they said they captured a black dog.
Mm.
And when they asked their ghost box what it was, the ghost box responded with demon. There was also another weird apparition called the Creeper that apparently crawls or slinks across the floor. And you can hear the sound of someone or something banging on pipes. And then there's a ghost of someone named Jesse and Andrew that also frequent the hallways.
Wow. Are there records or of these people having been patients?
I apologize. I kind of did a lot of my research last minute,
No, it's okay.
to be real honest.
It's okay.
But I think it's one of those things where if there are records,
Hmm.
it didn't mention it.
Okay.
I think it's also safe to assume that given the conditions under which the hospital operated, that
That
records were probably kept real loosey goosey.
sure. Yeah.
Like they were not a priority to keep records
Hmm.
uh, and not accurately. So, I think a lot of these names, considering we're also given only first names, are very easily like
Right.
could be true, could not be true, hard to
Yeah.
prove, hard to disprove. You know,
Right.
if you're operating for over 100 years, you're gonna have someone named Andrew. Like
Yes.
that's just
Yes.
given you started in the 1800s, you're gonna have a girl named Lily at some point.
Yes.
Like that's just a
And
given.
Ruth.
And Ruth, yeah, Ruth being the oldest old person name ever, right?
Yes.
Ruth and like what Barbara in the 1950s,
Barbara.
right? Yeah,
Yes.
or 1930s, 40s, yeah. So, anyway, that is the story of the Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Again, I apologize for the antiquated, non-PC language,
Yes.
but that's what it comes up under. That's what its name was. It was renamed at some point to the Western State um, Insane Asylum, which isn't necessarily better. Um,
No. No.
but yeah,
And
that's it's just a bastion of its time in which it was created. Which again, from what I've heard from various you know, podcasts. I know the podcast Lore did an episode about this, which I'm
mhm,
sure I've heard. I've heard about other asylums during this era. And of course, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
sure.
A lot of them started with the best of intentions. People really wanted to provide a space for people to come and heal and get treatment.
Yeah.
And for one reason or another, it became about profits or just appeasing the public, you know,
Yeah.
and
Or
or
experimentation.
experimentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, which also came with a level of
Yeah.
notoriety and probably money, if
Sure.
you're I can't just I think at one point this was run by the state. I don't know if it was always run by the state, but even then the state was probably getting some sort of compensation or kickback or something if it wasn't just a straight up private institution.
Yeah.
There's money involved somewhere. Like they say, follow the money. There's
There's
someone gaining something.
there's always money or notoriety or, and I mean, even advancement
Right,
involved
right.
in these things that the people who were expendable
Mhm.
then, and what we know now, or what we've been able to work out as a result of so many people going through that, is wild.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is definitely a case of being grateful to those who came before you, who had to suffer at the hands of what we can look back now and say is antiquated and primitive science.
Yes.
But in so many ways, we owe our current existence to these occurrences,
Yeah, to
you
these
know?
occurrences, and I mean, to uh quite frankly, to disabled persons
Absolutely.
who, not that they had any choice in the matter, and it wasn't about bringing us to this time of, you know, advancement and understanding of medical science. It was really more of just, I can't do this on, normal society. So
Right.
let's take this black person or this woman or this
Mhm.
person who behavior
Disabled
I
or
don't understand,
right,
and this is for the greater good. And
right.
it does benefit the greater good, but it's, like you said, road to hell. So,
Yeah, exactly, and I mean, it just brings to mind, and probably because I've seen postings from, the women who are involved with this production, but, and let's get ready for boozed racist corner, right? Racism corner right
there we
now.
go.
Uh,
We need a
it is
little
Black
we need a little theme music.
We'll get a little jingle going for
Yeah.
boozed racism corner. Boozed Racism Corner. Oh god. Um, but there's a show, it's about to end, I think it ends on the 20th, that you can stream online called Do No Harm,
Mhm.
and a couple of our friends or our cohorts, Jaquay and Whitney are in this production, and it explores the lives of the women of gynecology. And I say
Oh.
the women of modern, and I know about this show initially because I was, uh, originally a part of the staged reading. It was supposed to be a staged reading, and then right as we started rehearsing for the stage reading, COVID hit, and then they decided to take it and do a production, and, uh, new people were cast for the production, the
Mm.
film production. And so this whole theatrical, like, film experience, it's a play, but they've done it as a film, and I think, again, you can still probably download it until the 20th. It's through Soul Rep Theater. Shout out to Soul Rep Theater in Dallas, Texas, and it explores the mothers of modern gynecology. Because 'cause let's be very clear, there is a statue to a white man, and there are reverences made to a white man being called the father of modern gynecology, but he experimented on enslaved African women,
Mm.
African American women. He experimented on them continuously, tortuously, without anesthetic because they were perceived to not feel pain and still are. There are still health practitioners who think that Black people do not feel pain the same way as their white counterparts.
Mhm.
And if you think I'm lying, fucking use Google. It's free, bitch. Like, I'm tired of having to explain this to people.
No,
Like,
yeah.
people doubt me when I say shit like this. Google is fucking free. You can find textbooks that are still being printed to educate healthcare providers that will tell them that people of color, specifically Black people, feel pain less.
Mhm.
How the fuck does that make sense to you?
There is a complete disconnect for how
A
they
complete
are
disconnect.
training medical students on accommodating black people. I saw something the other day about how you Google pictures of Lyme disease and you don't know they don't know how to look for Lyme disease on black skin because they've only
Mm,
seen pictures of like the circle, the emblem it makes on white skin. So you don't know what it
mm,
is. So it's a bug bite and then they send you home for stuff like that. So there's
right.
just this
Because
complete, yeah.
why would Black people be exposed to Lyme disease? Because Black people don't camp, right? Ticks
Yeah.
don't affect Black people, right? Listen, I recently got into it with some people on Instagram about fucking
Oh
sunblock.
man.
Sunblock. And
Camille.
listen, I got into it with Black
I
people
know
about
I
sunblock
saw.
and skin cancer.
I saw.
I it's not just other cultures and other races being ignorant. Sometimes like what do they say? It be your own people.
Yeah.
It be your own fucking people. Listen, if you have melanin, if you are a black person, you can get skin
You
cancer.
have skin.
You have skin. You can get skin cancer from sun exposure. Is it rare? More rare in black people? Yes. However, it is still possible and it is mis or underdiagnosed in black people because like you said, and there was a study about this, dermatologists felt, they said it in a survey that they felt that they were not capable of treating black or dark-skinned patients with the same efficiency as white patients based on what they have been taught and have learned and in school.
Mhm.
This is dermatologists admitting this. So, guess what? Skin cancer based on sun exposure is possible in black people. Skin cancer in general is possible in black people. Guess how it presents in black people? And I'm going to keep this in the episode because I think people should know. If you are a black person, it presents in different ways. So, skin cancer in general, not sun exposure, skin cancer will present probably on the soles of your feet and your hand, basically the lighter areas of your body in many cases, in different moles and discoloration. The skin cancer type will also prevent, but because we don't think we can get it,
Mhm.
because we don't take the same protection that someone who will freckle and burn easily
Mhm.
does, it is diagnosed later when it is almost too late in most cases, or when it is too late in cases. And therefore, our prevalence of death due to skin cancers is higher in some cases as Black people
Yep.
because we don't know what to look for. Our doctors don't know what to look for. Our doctors don't believe us because of their training. When we say, I have this mole, I have this white splotch, I have this weird skin discoloration. What is it? And they're like, I don't know. And you're like, I don't know either. You're
Mhm.
the doctor. And then guess what? Months later, you're in a hospital with fucking skin cancer, stage 4 or whatever, and dying.
Yeah.
Like, when I tell you, like, people I
No,
fought with people
I s
on Instagram
here's what I'll
about
say.
this
Here's
shit,
what I'm gonna
like,
say.
it
Here's
is
what I'm gonna
it is
say. I
infuriating.
saw the comments that you were getting, and I didn't like them at all, first of all. I did not like them at all.
It be your own people sometimes, like, the call is coming from inside the house kind of bullshit.
But I'm just gonna say to those people, first of all, calm down. Secondly, this isn't even your fault. We have been done a disservice. You don't know shit, so just say
Mm,
that. We don't know shit. We
mhm.
don't
We don't
know
know.
how many people up in our community are suffering from skin cancer. So you think you can't get it. Remember when
Mm.
COVID hit and they were saying, "Oh, it looks like black people can't get it." There's just
Right.
misinformation because
No one in Africa has it,
that's what
so
I'm saying. There's
clearly, yeah.
misinformation because one, we have viable reasons to distrust the medical industry. They are not being
Mhm.
trained properly
Absolutely.
to treat
Absolutely.
us. So how will we know?
Mhm.
So of course we're gonna fight each other over
Mhm.
things like sunscreen and stuff like you don't know because you've been done a disservice. And how don't you see that? So
Mhm.
yeah, it's
Absolutely. But I mean, it's just like people were arguing so hard with me, and it's like, what is the harm in wearing sunscreen?
no, I
Sunscreen
saw
has not been connected to
someone called
cancer.
you an idiot. And that's when I was just
Listen,
done.
I got
At that point I
I
was
like
finished.
I two I don't like being like there's like one instant way to get my hackles up, and that's to call me like a liar or ignorant.
Yeah.
Because guess what? I'm not gonna talk about shit I don't know shit about usually.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna post my opinions out there, I've done some form of research about it just because I'm an Aries and I hate fucking being wrong. So please trust that I've done my research ahead of time.
Yeah.
If I ever say anything or post anything, please know that I have some basis of fact in it because I do not want nobody coming to me saying you wrong. because I hate that shit with a passion, right?
Yeah.
And you know me, Sydney. You know I
Yeah,
do
no.
hate being wrong.
She
I hate being wrong. So I'm gonna choose my battles very wisely.
yes.
Um, but yeah, it's just yeah. It wasn't only that, but it was like she was like, "You're not actually black because you're light skinned."
See, I understand we're suffering from so many things
It's
at the same
it's
time.
so it's
At the
so
same
like
time, we're suffering from
it's
so many things, and you just all the ways that this country has fucking failed us in education, in medicine, in everything, socioeconomically, everything. Pick an avenue, we've been fucked.
we've
So,
been fucked.
uh, you almost like it's hard to fight with them because they don't know. They don't even know that they don't know. You know, they haven't been
I
told.
you know, you say that, but then, like, I'm telling you,
They don't want to hear it.
and you're still doubling down
And why are you
at that
fighting with me about sunscreen?
about sunscreen. Come on. Like, if you're so here's the thing, if you are so sure that you are right, just let me wear my fucking SPF 35, let me possibly get sun can or skin cancer from that.
Yeah,
Allegedly,
yeah,
and leave me the fuck alone, but stop spreading or stop trying to talk to me
yeah,
like I'm a fucking idiot. I'm not. I don't know. There's a lot of shit I don't know shit about. I will admit it 100%. I have gotten a lot better about admitting when I'm wrong.
yeah,
I frequently tell people to call me out on my bullshit and when I'm wrong. But black people wearing sunscreen is something I'm not wrong about.
no,
I have had a sunburn. I've had a sunburn. It is possible. And guess what? I didn't think it was possible until I had one. And that shit is painful. And
yeah.
I don't want another one.
It's that's
Healthcare is bullshit
healthcare is bullshit. Disabled people have been treated like shit, and they still
forever,
are forever,
forever. Mhm.
forever. In so many ways that you know if you just take the time to listen, you would understand the ways that you yourself have also contributed to that,
Yes,
and how the
yes.
system has contributed to that, and it's in so many ways you wouldn't even believe. I would recommend you guys. There's a girl that I follow on Twitter. Her handle is Crutches and Spice, and she like lays out very clearly all the ways like whether it's COVID or just like housing and just all these
Mhm.
different ways that disabled people are constantly still fighting for accessibility in just countless areas.
Basic yeah,
Yeah.
basic human rights. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing to think
It's
about all the things that people living with a disability have to think about.
yeah, and the things that we recognize like ramps or braille in the elevators or
Mm,
things like that, like none of all that stuff also had to be fought for. There had to be
right.
like sit-ins and protests of the disabled community for any of that to happen. And I think when we look at that stuff, sometimes we think like, well, that's all, okay, that's all that's needed. But I don't feel like we have properly continued to push or explore all the ways that we could be making things more accessible.
Right. No, it's the minimum. It's the bare minimum
Yeah,
of
it's
what we can
always
do.
just the bare minimum. I'll give it to this younger generation. Most of the stuff I see always has like transcription for their like
Mhm.
videos, and I feel like millennials, we didn't think of that. We didn't know that we should think of that. That people will want
Absolutely.
to be able to be entertained by, on Vine, or like that generation would have never considered it because they just didn't know. We stress the no racism, no homophobia, no transphobia, but ableism gets left out of there far too
Mm.
much. So
Mhm.
let's get it together, folks.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Make these
So
captioning services free, damn it.
back to Ghost.
Okay. But
What is our podcast about?
these damn ghosts though.
They're haunting. The ghost of ableism haunts me
It
constantly.
and it will.
So, but, about your thoughts about trans Allegheny and their ghost, how about that?
Um, yeah, you know me. I'm still on the fence about that whole ghost tour thing, especially
Yes,
for
and
something
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew that was
especially
gonna
for
come up.
something like this.
It
Damn,
is it is very exploitative, yes.
that stuff is tricky to me, but I like the idea of it being a museum where you can come and
Mm,
learn what happened here, and um, maybe some of that funding gets you know sent to practices and organizations that help with
mm.
these kinds of things. But it that's the what's his name, Walter who
Walter Asshole Freeman.
Walter Freeman was out here gouging eyes, just see the shining sea. It's like,
Right,
what?
just stabbing brains left and right.
That is,
He was out of pocket
and I know
completely.
you had to, like, how you supposed, you gotta try shit. I understand. It's the 1800s. It's the early
I mean, but no,
1900s.
he was practicing, like, within the
It was
1930s and 40s.
practicing way too long. But I understand we have to, you got to understand the body, you got to get in there and you got to try stuff, and I get that. But it's so tricky when dealing with, I understand that what the benefits can be, but like the cost of it is too much.
Yeah, and I think with him, like, there weren't even benefits. I mean, I assume at some point there's a study based on his, like, practices
Yeah.
or just the fact that we realize that that is not the best thing to do,
Yeah. This
is a
isn't,
benefit,
we're trying to get to
but
the brain. Maybe that eye is not the best entry point.
or maybe we should always use. But the thing is, like, lobotomies are still performed. They're not outlawed,
Mm,
and I believe this because I believe I've talked to someone about this
I
before.
did not
I don't
know
know if it was
that.
on this podcast or in another conversation. You can technically still get a form of a lobotomy, and I think in some very severe mental illness cases, it is considered an option. Now, they probably use anesthesia and don't go through your eye
Another
anymore.
thing that maybe he helped them realize. You
Maybe.
gotta
I mean,
you gotta be putting them to sleep.
overall, he was just a dickhead.
Yeah. Yeah. But I
Yeah,
mean, even if you're learning what not to do, you're learning.
right.
So
Let's not be that guy.
let's not be him.
Let's not do that. Yeah.
But some of the stuff is just like, some of this shit is common sense, and I really don't understand why they were like just not providing them with some basic like warmth and beds and stuff.
I yeah, I don't know. I mean, but the thing is, like, if you have heard about these types of asylum, and Trans Allegheny is one of the most famous ones,
Mhm.
and I know there's some documentaries about this one or another one, and some podcast episodes and readings and books, of course. It just seems to be a problem that was really prevalent. It's like they set up these asylums that were supposed to be nice, at the very least, a nice place to get treatment.
Mhm.
And a number of them at some point just evolved into complete chaos and abuse and madness because too many people saw it as a dumping ground for their problem family members.
Yeah. I am not at all shocked that this place is riddled with ghosts, and ghosts follow people home, and
Yeah, well, it's like what we say about, like, theaters and
yeah,
war sites,
yeah,
just places where emotion is so concentrated and yeah, just concentrated. Like you're gonna have something residual left behind.
yes, yeah.
Um, emotions of any kind, violent emotions or exuberant, happy emotions, I feel leave an imprint, that energy behind.
Yeah.
And this asylum, along with many others, are very much considered haunted to this day.
Mm.
And to your point, I did when I was reading this story, I was like, Sydney's gonna have something to say about the exploitation. The exploitation of like, if we just left it alone, maybe the ghosts would be fine and move on. But since we keep antagonizing them.
Or like, why is it gotta be a? Why do you have to do ghost tours though?
Mm,
Like, honor it by making it a museum and talking about the mistreatment and what it tried to
mm,
do or what it, just the facts of it.
right, right.
Now, if all that stuff still happens, then okay, but at least it's not this like exploitative, you
Yeah.
know. I know there's no
Y
records, but that's, I mean, there were people there. So,
This is true. And I can't say there were no records. I know I mentioned that earlier,
yeah.
but, again, records are like, who was keeping the records accurately
Yeah.
at that point,
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, Sydney being the, ghost rights activist that you are.
Look, I'm just fighting for ghost rights. They deserve to be honored and respected.
Equal representation under the law.
Okay. You know?
Yes, yes. I agree. Um, yeah, it was funny, like, when I was reading it, I was like, "I know Sydney's gonna say something about."
You knew.
I knew it.
You know I'm
I
not
knew
gonna stand for it. I'm sick of this. I know I'm like ruining the show with these
it.
takes.
Ghosts ghosts have rights too.
But listen, they do. Okay? Like, we're naming them, we're giving them these personalities and all this stuff like this. Like, you
Right, right.
clearly see the humanity in this. So
Mm,
why do you treat it this way? Like, look how they were treated when they were alive.
yeah.
It's kind of gross to me, but that's just me. Not knocking if you want to take a ghost tour.
I was just gonna say, I know now not to invite you to any of my future ghost
I'll
tours.
go with you. I'm gonna be.
Oh, that's not a violation of your morals for ghost rights?
Oh man.
See, now you put it out there.
No, you're right. I'm not going. Don't invite me. I'm not gonna go.
I'll just report back with
I'm
all
just
of
gonna
my
stand outside with a sign that and I'm gonna come up with a chant for them.
Oh god.
But that
Well,
was very, it was a good story. I had a feeling that I would have feelings about this, which is why I chose this topic, because I
good,
knew
thank
it was gonna be fucked up, and I was like, I wanna hear Camille's research into the story just for myself. But hopefully
you.
we all benefit from this story and this grim past.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you, Sydney, for picking this, as well as our Patreon supporters for voting for this week's episode. Yeah, just want to show our love to Patreon supporters for sure. Y'all have definitely kept us afloat these many, many months. And if you would like to support on Patreon, again, that is boost or ugh, it's patreon.com/boostpod. You can also give a one-time donation or, just one-off donations as you please, because we do now have a Venmo account, and that is at boostpod. If you search us on Venmo, I will probably post what is it called? The QR code
Mhm.
on our Instagram sometime soon. So be on the lookout for that if you'd like to donate. Speaking of Instagram, you can always follow us at BoostPod on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and TikTok. I have uploaded a few things to TikTok recently. I'm trying real hard, y'all. It's a challenge. and I've tried to use some reels on Instagram.
Mhm.
One of them was kinda popular. We had, like, 1,000 views of one of them.
Oh, snap.
So, we'll see what happens there if I can continue that momentum. And yeah, or you can go to our if you're lazy, just go to our website, boostpod.com. All the links are there. All the places you can listen, donate, join, follow, subscribe are on there at boostpod.com. And you can also buy merchandise, which is still available. We have mugs, we have a sweatshirt, we have t-shirts. Yeah, I feel like this episode was weirdly short and long at the same time.
It was. I mean, yeah. I mean, the the story wasn't that lengthy, but and our delving into it probably was longer than the story itself, but that's fine.
Right. A little ghost light,
That happens there. I mean, yeah.
paranormal light. So, yeah. Uh
Same.
anything you'd like to add, Sydney, to this week's episode?
Is there anything I'd like to add?
Yeah,
Uh
just any thoughts about the story, about your life in general, about the world?
um
We probably don't have enough time for the world, but otherwise.
I think mental health is a very important thing.
Mm,
Um we are going through a
Panera
collective
bread.
a collective yeah, we're going through a Pantene Pro V still. And
I've not heard that one before.
that was mine. I came up with that.
Nice. Yes. Bravo. Bravo.
And it is a shared trauma. And
Hmm.
we would all benefit from checking in on ourselves right now. I know a lot of people are trying to just be, keep it as normal as possible, but you're still here, and you're still hearing about what's happening, whether you believe it or you're respecting it or not. So, check in on yourself and your friends and your people. And uh, yeah, it's very important. I myself have terrible anxiety, but uh yeah, it's so I know, as Camille knows, you have to check in on yourself and do things that, help with your mental health and do things that make you feel good.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Absolutely. So, Sydney, where can the peoples find you to share their ghost advocacy ideas?
if you guys want to join my movement for ghost lives, or former lives, you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Sid SYD underscore the letter N underscore play PLAY. And that is
Oh my
where I
God.
will be. That's where I'll be advocating.
We're starting a protest.
Yeah.
Oh.
We're gonna take these ghost tours down city by
Oh my
city. We're gonna
gosh.
start in New Orleans and we'll just work our way around the
Ooh.
country.
Ooh, you are starting big
Yeah.
guns out.
Yeah.
Damn.
We gotta go to
I need to
ground zero.
there's a big historical grave site here in Atlanta that I'm gonna plan to visit soon. So I should do that before your movement
Camille's
reaches
part
the
of the problem.
area. I am part of the problem. I am definitely going on a ghost tour. So I mean, I feel like this is what the listeners need. Two sides of a coin,
Yeah.
pros and
Yeah.
cons. You need that conflict
This
and,
is a balance. This is a
yes,
balance. We're
an equal
crossing the aisle to each other, and
what are the politicians? Unity is what
unity, unity.
we're unifying
We're
versus
unifying. You know,
across the paranormal lines.
it's not the right or the left booze podcast. It's the United Booze podcast.
Oh God. Oh, gonna get some comments about that one. As we rightfully should. Not even gonna lie. You can find me at the Camille Monae on most social media. I still can't get into the TikTok account I created eons ago.
Wow.
Clearly, I no longer have access to the proper phone number and or email.
Mm.
If anyone knows anyone at TikTok, please tell them to help me. I'm not going to use it. I just want access to my name. That's all. Um, I guess as long as no one else can use it, I should be happy. But you can follow me on all social media at the Camille Monae. I am now also on Clubhouse at Camille Monae or the Camille Monae. I don't know how that works really. I just started using it. And if you'd like to follow the podcast, that is at Boozed Pod on all social media, including TikTok. Some new clips there. If you feel like using one of the clips and doing something funny that will go viral with all the kids, I don't know. What's popular right now? The silhouette challenge.
The silhouette challenge is very popular.
I heard something that like the red filter
Hmm.
can be removed.
It can be removed, and from what I've heard, you should not be doing the silhouette challenge naked because of that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
So, yes.
keep that in
PSA.
mind, youths.
PSA. If you're going to do silhouette challenge, do it. Make sure you got your clothes on.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand why you would suddenly get completely naked for that, but
So that you
people
can
do what
see
they do.
all the curves.
But undergarments do that well enough, right?
But
Like
I
if
mean,
you're just
like,
looking for
but it's
curves,
like you are in a, I mean, you are literally in a skin suit. You're in your skin suit. So you can see the
I just
curves.
feel I just feel like my curves are better when contained by underwear.
Have you seen your
Like
curves outside of underwear?
I have, and that's why I know that they are better when they are constrained.
But I mean, like, in a silhouette, though.
I I've seen them without it that I know that a silhouette will not help.
Okay.
Yes, that I feel like they need the spandex and the nylon and the whatever
Uh,
polyester
uh,
to enhance the curviness.
gotcha.
And so therefore, I personally would not do the silhouette challenge. One, and without clothing
I think you
too.
could do it, Camille.
That's very generous of you. Thank you. I will not though. I can't even get onto TikTok, so there you go.
Okay. Let
Um
that be your one reason why not.
mhm. Oh no, it's one of two.
What's the second one?
I don't want to.
Okay. That's
I
fair.
will not.
That's
That's
fair.
not a judgment on anyone else. It's just I'm not. I'm having a hard enough time learning how to do a reel on Instagram. I don't need any other challenges.
Hmm. Okay.
I'm I'm barely hanging on to my social media presence for myself and or the podcast. So you get what you get, and you're going to be happy with it on my account. Anyway, moving on. Thank you, listeners. Is that the point we're at?
Yes.
I've had a whole bottle of wine by
She had
myself.
a whole bottle of Robitussin by herself.
I did. Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was not good. It was not a good bottle of wine. Um. Uh huh.
Thank you,
What was I?
listeners. Thank
What was I
you.
saying?
Thank you.
Thank you. Wrap it up, Sydney.
Thank you, listeners, as always, for tuning into Booze Pod. Check us out on boozepod.com. Happy Black History Month again.
Whoop, whoop.
Black people, put that damn sunscreen on. Stop being stupid.
Yes.
And we'll see you. We'll see
Wear a
you.
mask. Take care of yourselves.
Take care of yourselves. Take care of your mental health.
Take care of one another. Wear a goddamn mask.
Please. And get boozed.
We'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to Boozed. Our theme was composed by Vincent Parish. Sound production is done by Sydney Johnson. You can find us on social media at Boosed Pod. That's BOOSED Pod. If you would like to support the show, please go to patreon.com/boostpod to make a contribution. Thank you for listening. And don't forget, get boozed.